everybody, and welcome back once again to the Tandie was Born2Differ show. I'm absolutely excited to be joined today by a lovely, strong, courageous young lady who's got an amazing story to share of what she has done, what she has gone through, and what she's achieved and is still achieving with us today. And this lovely lady is called Yeukai Taruvinga. Yeukai, it's good to have you on.
Thank you, Tandie. Thank you for inviting me. It's lovely seeing you again.
I know, it's been a while, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes, that's very true. Yeukai, tell us a little bit about yourself before we kind of kick off with everything that we've got to do. Might I say, you look absolutely lovely. I love your dress.
Thank you so much. And this is from my boutique, online boutique.
Your own boutique?
Yes.
So you make these?
Yes, I make this, but also most of my production, I outsource it in Zimbabwe and Malawi. So it helps bring employment to women.
Oh, so the dress and the earrings,
yes,
and the shoes?
No, the shoes are, no, I don't do shoes at the moment.
Okay, are they from Marks and Spencer then?
These are from Aldo.
Oh. Okay, that's fine. But no, you look absolutely lovely. So maybe afterwards you can tell us about where we can get this, and I would like to purchase it myself.
Oh, lovely. Thank you.
Yeah, so, okay, so besides your own boutique that you have, well, so you've got a son?
Yes, Yeukai is me here, Yeukai Taruvinga. I'm originally from Mondoro, Zimbabwe, proudly Zimbabwean.
Proudly Zimbabwean.
Yes.
I love
Yeukai, yeah, I'm a mom as well to my son Anashe, who's 8 at the moment, that's in year 4.
Okay.
Exciting times, yeah. He wants to play, so I was like, Mommy, I'm not going to year 4. There's no longer playtime. I said, yeah, right.
I'm glad he knows that. Let it remain that way until he finishes high school.
Oh yes, they need to work hard. Yes, so I'm based here in the UK, in London.
Okay.
I came in UK 2001.
I was going to ask you, you came, so in 2001, that's when you came here. Okay,
yes.
So that's about 20 years.
Exactly 20 years. I can't believe it. I know. When I came here, I just finished my A-levels. And as you know, I was young, just barely 18.
Wow.
And
so you came to 2001, you were 18 years old. You were on your own?
I was on my own, yes. So I came to the UK, and during that time, that's when there was a lot of instability in Zimbabwe. So as a young person, just like others, I arrived in the UK thinking I'll be here probably for a year for studies and go back home.
20 years later, you're still here.
I'm here. Life, isn't it?
Listen, I came here and I thought I'm also coming here for studies. I'd given myself maximum of 4 years because I want to go to university. So I knew university was 3 years, and I was like, after 3 years, I work 1 year and I'm done, and I go back.
Exactly.
That was in 2000.
That's also wow, that's a long time. And I
so we're pretty much the same.
Yeah. So yeah, when I arrived here, like I said, I thought I'll be here for a very short time and go back home. Maybe Zimbabwe will be much stable, and I'll pursue my career, whatever that would have been. But I found myself to be in a very different environment. Arriving in the UK, very cold. I remember it was in March. And yeah, I remember getting to the immigration. Yeah, I find it. Why are you here? Oh, sorry.
No, it's all right. What I was going to say was, you said something earlier, which is very important, that when you came here, you were young. You were 18 years old. I was 17. We were very young. And you're on your own in a foreign land, foreign country. No family here. Did you have any family here?
No, like my immediate family, I'd left them in
Zimbabwe. You met your immediate family back in Zimbabwe, so you came and you're staying with other extended families.
Yes.
But basically you were on your own and you're a young lady. And there is a story behind that. And when we come back, you're going to tell us about it. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Tandie was Born2Differ show with Yeukai Taruvinga, who came here when she was 18 years old on her own in 2001. And since then, she's been in this country for 20 years now, exactly. 20 years and a few months, isn't it? Because you came in March. But tell us about how it was for you when you first came into the UK. You mentioned a little bit about immigration. What happened?
Yes, so obviously coming here as a migrant, I thought life would be as simple because growing up in Zimbabwe with my parents and family around, I just thought things would just smooth sail, as you know.
Yeah.
And I was unprepared of things to come.
Did you also think that money grew on trees when you get here? That
Kind
it's
of,
gonna
I
be,
think.
it's gonna be
That immature mind, I had it.
how it should just be there. There'll be loads
The
of
first
money.
thing was like, oh, I need to register to a college and just study. And
yeah.
so yes, then when
I'm like, what's the problem? You know, I just need
when
to
I
just-
was about to do that, I was told we need you to have your visa, which I did not have. You need to have been here for a few years. The conditions for you to study to be here for a few years, and also it costs a lot of money because I had to pay like home fee.
You're an international,
fees.
international
that's right.
student.
But when I came here, I was an asylum seeker.
Right.
Right from the beginning, because I just told my story when I was just coming to the UK, and I didn't even know what I was.
Tell me, at that time in 2001, were they? Because I know the system changed. I can't remember when. Because when I came in 2000, you were given your visa at the airport.
Yeah, that's right.
But then later on changed.
That was around 2004, I think.
2004.
when the law
Okay.
changed, if
All right.
I'm not
Okay.
sure, but could be. But yes. During the time we came, there was no visa allowed. So I was just telling my story and what was going on in Zimbabwe. And I remember one of the ladies at the immigration was like, you may need to, and you told me about asylum. Obviously was the first word I'm hearing. I said, I don't even know what you're talking about. She somehow...
helped you out.
Helped me out, say that's what you probably need to talk about.
Oh, wow.
And I said, oh, okay, if that means I should be here and have a place to
stay,
that's fine. But I didn't know what I was missing myself in, because I was young again. But also at the time, I remember the airport.
And information wasn't.
Yes, I wasn't by
easily
myself in terms of there were other like Zimbabweans in other countries like Uganda, for example, who were just basically talking about where they are coming from. But what I didn't realize was that it's a different ball game in terms of the legalities, in terms of the processes. And then I remember the immigration officer now saying, oh, okay, that's fine. So I have to take your passport and come back and all the rest. So that's fine.
And you gave them and we tend to, because the thing is, like you said, asylum. When I came in 2000, the word asylum, it was like a taboo. You can't really say it, and you can't tell everybody that you can't.
What it means.
I heard about it in 2000, and I remember in 2000, it's not something that you could publicly share to everybody.
Yes. Within our community, I remember because I very much just talk about things, real things. So I remember when I was talking about my experiences and also what I was seeing within our own communities. They said a party, Zimbabwean, someone would be like, oh, you shouldn't be talking about that. I was like, oh, I think this is what's happening. Yeah. Because obviously it's a personal thing, and I remember some people would say, oh, someone
who claims asylum is mad. That's not right.
Within, would make somebody not want to talk about
exactly.
it. But actually, a lot were in that situation.
A lot of people, and that was the funny thing about it. A lot of people were in that situation, but were not comfortable. It's as if there were two things which I noticed. It's as if once people know that you've seeked asylum, there is something wrong with you.
Exactly.
And people want to shun away from you. They don't want to associate with you. Maybe because they'll think if they befriend you, they too might get deported. Or if you're seeking asylum, it means there's something, it's an embarrassment.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's not something that people were very comfortable
about. But in my experience, knew a lot of people in those circumstances, because I think I would relate well with people who had challenges in that sense. Okay. So I would see, people from my own community, other countries, but being an asylum seeker in the UK is the worst nightmare I think one can be in, because so what was happening was, so you're facing a legal challenge here, right? Where you're fighting for your, the right to be in the UK,
stay in the UK,
which is a biggest thing. And at the same time, that it then impacts you whether you should progress in life.
Whether you should get a job,
exactly,
money, a place to stay, a roof over your head, food on the table, and considering you were only 18, you had family back home.
Exactly, and I'm seeing my peers doing, like other peers just doing what they are doing at their age, going to college, working in McDonald's, you know, all what it needs.
And you can't even just get to...
You cannot, because you have all restrictions. And apparently during that time, you know, I think for the next years that we're coming, with that legal battle, I found myself, you know, being in detention because...
The detention center.
Yeah, once they refuse your case, one of the things they would say, you have to leave the country. So
what was that like?
Oh, it was the most horrible experience. So I thought if prison...
I like the way you say it with a smile. Oh, it was the most horrible experience.
I should smile now because I just cannot believe that I passed that phase. Because at that moment, I thought my world was ending, right? Because my first experience of detention, they told me we were going to a detention is part of the process. So I said, what process of detaining someone?
And how old were you then?
I think that was after a few months when they said your case was refused.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you understand what that meant?
No, I didn't understand, of course, because then, you know, no one had prepared.
Yeah.
And of course there'll be some advisors coming to talk to us, but it doesn't make sense.
No.
At the end of the day, it takes
a lot to process.
Yes, exactly. So I remember they were telling us, we're going to a detention. We got into we were made to get into a bus, one of those mega bus, somewhere in England, I don't know. It was late night. And we had a lot of us sit there. Some people were screaming. I'll never forget this one lady who was screaming the whole journey.
Oh my God!
Screaming about, you know, she was like, "Take me back to my home. I don't know where you're taking me to." So anyway, we got.
So it's a very it's sorry. I'm just gonna I keep on interjecting, but it's something that is quite traumatic, isn't
Yes,
it?
it is.
Because you're in a foreign land, you haven't got friends, you've got extended families, and you're just trying to find your feet.
Yeah.
And then you've sought asylum, but now you're having to, your asylum case has been denied.
Yes.
And then they tell you you're going to a detention center.
Yes.
You haven't got a lawyer per se.
I did, yeah, but like statutory lawyers,
Okay.
like, legal duty lawyers. I can
Like legal aid, like they gave you legal aid and legal
at that
aid
time,
lawyers.
Legal aid was available, which was
Okay.
great, I think, as well at the time.
Okay, okay, all right. So and then now you're in a situation where they're telling you that your case has been denied, and you're going to a detention center, and it's still quite a lot for you, and you're going to be deported.
Yes, that would be.
How does that make you feel?
Yeah, lost. Obviously, it was traumatic. I didn't know who to talk to, and at some point I was like, it's best I go back, because at the end of the day, it's not like there's anything going on for me, but at the same time I'm like, I have to fight this, because it then turned to be an issue where it's my life. I have to fight. If I do not fight and stand, no one is going to fight for me. I'm the only one who understands.
Did you at any time think about your family you'd left back home?
I always thought about my family, and
you're thinking that they spend money for the ticket, and they're also waiting from money from.
But what then made me stand and fight was also seeing what was going on, not only on myself, but just looking at the wider, the human rights issues in terms of migrants and refugees in the UK. So that gave me that strength to say, you know what, this is actually an endemic. Were you a person who used to fight for things, or fight for yourself, or I mean before you even came to the UK, or is this something that when you were in that moment, in that bus, and thinking, you know what, I need to fight for my life, I need to fight for this? Is that something? Can you say that was a difference? Is that something that is that who you've always been in terms of a fighter, or is something that grew because of that when you realized I need to fight for my life? That's when I realized probably my strength then, because then I don't even thought, like I said, when I was growing up, I would just go to school, things were provided. I never had an opportunity where
mom, dad, siblings,
everything. Then I have to be standing on my. So I think that's where one of my character strength came out, I guess.
So it's always a situation where when you're put it's always a case where you're put in a situation that you begin to see your strengths.
Exactly.
You begin to see what is inside of you.
Yes.
And like you said, you realize that I had to fight for this.
Yes, exactly.
Wow. That is amazing.
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick break. So here with Yeukai, she's telling us a story about how she came into the UK at 18, sought asylum, and her case at that time in 2001 was denied, and then she was taken to the detention center where she was told she would be deported.
Yes.
How long did you stay in the detention center for?
So let me. I didn't go in detention center once. I actually went 3 times. So probably I can share a little bit about that.
Okay.
So throughout my journey, you know, as an asylum seeker, I was going back and forth, like I said, with my case. And the first time when I went to detention center, I remember they took us to a place called Cornbrook. I don't think it exists now. And that was almost like a prison kind of environment where any the potential deportee
Prison kind of environment.
because they would, and the law with that place would allow you to be there for at least 48 hours only.
Okay.
Pending to being
Deportation.
Deportation or further detention.
Okay.
So yeah, I went there 2 days, and I was in my own cell. So and I rethought myself, God, I didn't commit any crime. And I'm being treated like a criminal. I think this is what got me very angry. The only crime I was committing was for me to have my, dignity and basic human rights.
You say you were being treated like a criminal. Yes. I mean, were they not nice to you?
No,
were they not compassionate? Were they not, holding you with care, telling you to come this way, do this? They didn't put chains on you or anything, did they?
So yeah, here's my experience. So I went to I was told to come.
Okay.
Because they want to deport me, and when I got there were 2 officers. Okay. They're not police officers, but immigration officers, right? One was standing next to my left, the other to my right, and they took my hands and walked me to the
one on each side. They took your hands.
Yes. So I was like, oh God. So I remember my friend, my Oasis, my very close friend, bless her, she accompanied me. And so she thought, and we thought we just go have an interview and go back home. Okay. Then they said, no, you're not going home. We're taking you because you need to go to the detention. And my friend was crying because she saw the situation wasn't very nice. So yes, it was very hostile. So the officers held my hands. I went into the
as if you had not, but you had come here willingly.
Exactly.
You had presented
and they
yourself.
Had my passport anyway. It's not like I was, running from anything.
Okay, and then the fact that you had come here by yourself, they said to you, come, you went, you came there. Then the next thing you know, one person on your left, one person, and they're holding your hand. And I mean, you're not a very tall lady, I must say. No. So you're a short lady being held with. Yes. Were they men?
Oh yeah, men, of course. And I said, why are you treating you like that? It's just part of the process. That's what we are instructed to do that. So obviously they're working under instruction, probably from the Home Secretary, I guess. So anyway, I got onto the coach. And I saw in the coach there were other people there who were also going to where I was going, and I found myself to be in another detention center. I didn't know the place. And the next 6 weeks I was there.
You were there for 6 weeks.
Yes. So in there, what then happened was I met a lot of Zimbabweans at the time because what was happening was. The country guidance in the UK was instructing, the Home Secretary that Zimbabweans who are asylum seekers need to be sent back. So most people were being taken from the time they were reporting,
I see.
And also some with criminal cases, like some were petty crimes, and most of the crimes I can say were people trying to survive. Okay. So working illegally, that was the biggest one.
Okay, so people would they have sought asylum?
They wouldn't have. They would just have been
no papers. They're illegal immigrants, and then they're working.
And unfortunately, yes,
they get caught, and then they're being deported.
Exactly. So those were most of the cases as well. Okay. This when I met a lot of my sisters and brothers.
Of course, yeah.
It was a relief for me in that sense because that's where I saw solidarity as a community. Yeah, and when we were in detention, that is when I realized this is the only place that I can fight for myself.
Okay, so before we get there, you tell us about fighting for yourself. What was it in terms of the environment? I know you've talked about you met and you built relationships with other brothers and sisters who were also from Zimbabwe. But what about the food, the clothing? Because I'm sure when you were taken, you didn't bring anything of yours.
No.
You didn't have any clothes, any change, even for your underwear or anything of that sort. So what was it like?
So when you got there, they just did like body searches as if you're in prison or whatever, and then they would ask, "What do you have?"
And your mobiles? Were you allowed mobiles?
Yes, but yeah, I had my mobile, and then there were no smartphones at the time. That was early.
There was the Nokia 3310.
Nokia, yes. So they took our mobile phones, and we were only allowed to use the phone booth inside to call out. So they took everything, like mobile phones. I only had my handbag anyway. I'm not prepared for any.
Of course,
journey.
yeah.
So they gave us like extra clothes and all that, and then I was assigned to go to my room.
Okay. Were you sharing a room?
Sharing, yes. So all of most of us, everyone was sharing, either 2 people or 3 people. Decent environment, obviously.
And the food?
The food was decent. You had 3 meals a day, standard meals. But the emotional trauma is what affected us more than anything else.
So it's a waiting game,
yes,
kind of a thing, and at the same time, so you've got no means of communication with your family except for the phone booth.
Yes.
And you're allowed to use it any time of the day, or
yes, not specific times of the day. So it was not a luxury time where you just wake up and mind you, probably hundreds of us in that detention, and there are probably 3 or 4 groups. And as you know, everybody wants to be on the phone.
And you want to speak to your lawyers, you want to speak to your family.
Yes. And I remember the only free time to call was your first 5 minutes when you get into detention. So they'll ask, call anybody in the world that you want to talk to. That's like
prison.
Yes.
That's what they do in prison. They're like, okay, you got your free call to make or something like that.
Yes.
And
exactly, and it was a horrible experience because it was a waiting game, like you're saying. You don't know what's coming next. You may receive a letter to say your plane is ready, or anything, or maybe you've been released, whatever. So we were constantly living in fear of the unknown.
Right.
And but I remember then we had, thank God we had supporters out there, in the real world, if you like, who started coming to visit us as a community, because at that time I was there, the Zimbabwean community outnumbered any other nationalities.
So there were more Zimbabweans in the detention center.
So that was targeted for us. We thought, this is targeted.
So they're targeting Zimbabweans to deport them.
Yeah. So why is that? We started investigating.
And yet people were leaving Zimbabwe because at that time, like you said at the beginning, that the situation in Zimbabwe was getting worse and worse.
At the time when we were in detention, was even worse politically. And we're not saying, here's the UK government. One department is demonizing what's going on in Zimbabwe.
Right.
The other department is encouraging Zimbabweans to go back to, in an unstable environment. So, why is that?
Exactly. So where do we fit in? How, how do you then treat us as human beings?
Exactly.
Because at the end, like you said, my human rights, I'm trying to fight for my life. Yes. I'm trying to fight for survival here.
Exactly.
To see how I can be able to live. I'm not here to steal, to kill or anything. I'm just here to work.
Yes.
And like you said, that some people, or most of them, had been caught at work.
Yeah.
And they were working to be able to survive.
Exactly.
You being 18 and having come here, the family back home was also dependent on you, and you were also trying to survive here in the UK.
Yes. So we then decided to go on a hunger strike.
We're in the detention center.
Oh yes. So what we then decided was, a lot of Zimbabweans.
Was it a hunger strike, or was it like you were fasting?
Hunger strike.
Okay. You were fasting.
You mean the prayer fast?
Yeah, the prayer, like you're praying and you're like, okay, God, I'm not gonna eat.
Definitely not. Of course, we prayed to God, but we needed to be very practical as well in the situation. So yes, we had to coordinate ourselves across the country. You remember at that time, I think there were 7 detention centers in the UK.
Okay.
If I'm right, then. And we had to coordinate through the support we're getting from outside.
So you coordinated with other people in other detention centers?
Yes, we had to then launch a campaign. And And for us, we're the first guys to go on the hunger strike. message to say you need to listen to us.
Okay, I like that. We're going to go on a hunger strike because you need to listen to us.
Yes.
And who was this message directed to?
To the UK government.
To the UK government.
Because they were the ones who were instigating the injustice that we were facing. So they knew Zimbabwe was, as a community, we were running away from, problems, and we were coming here for safety. But what we wanted was to work for ourselves so that we were able to go and rebuild Zimbabwe anyway. So how then can we then rebuild our own nation if you are locking us up and not empowering us?
Wow.
So that is the message we're sending out.
We're sending a message. Yeah. And on that note, we're going to take a quick break. So we're back with Yeukai, who's been telling us about her starvation story, being in the detention center, and how you mobilized, I don't know whether you mobilized people in different detention centers.
No, yes, it's not myself.
Yeah, we as a group.
As a group, yes, it's a group with Zimbabwean groups.
Okay, and how long was the starvation? For
the hunger strike.
Yes. Beg your pardon, hunger strike. Yes.
Yes. So we decided to do a campaign for that, so that I listened to, like I said, and we went on a hunger strike.
Did that work?
As a strategy to say, hear our voice. We can't be in detention. And take us out so that we go back to the communities.
Okay.
So across different detention centers, we started our hunger strike.
Okay. And did it work? Were your voices heard?
Yes, it worked, because what then happened was slightly during the time. So I can say, the day we started our hunger strike, I remember we were going to different Zimbabwean rooms, people from Zimbabwe, to start mobilizing ourselves, to talk about our plan, our campaign, and then and when we're starting a hunger strike, basically. So the next day we started a hunger strike. Then this following day, I was called to the immigration office, they had
interview room,
within the East Center. So they called me and two other ladies, and they said to me, "Can you pack your bags now?" And I said, "Why should I pack my bags now?" Because usually, even if they're deporting somebody, they'll give you a notice to say, "Okay, your flight is on such a day, so you're prepared." So one of the immigration officers said, "Oh, we've just been instructed to let you know that you should pack your bags." I said, "Where are you taking me to?" And they said, "We don't know." So I said, "We have the right to know. You have to tell me. If you're sending me back to Zimbabwe, then I have to know if whatever. So I have to know, and I have to inform my solicitor as well of what's going on." And what then happened was, I packed my bags out. I went to the front office with two other ladies. So when we were there, another immigration officer. They're not immigration officers, but they're security officers that work within the detention centers. Said, "Oh, you need to go into the van." I said, "Oh wow, what's that? Where are you taking me to?" And apparently one officer, I think he felt sorry for us, and he came and said, "You're being transferred to another detention center."
Oh.
So remember, this detention center was here in England. We were being transferred to another detention center in Scotland.
No.
Yes. So I was like, "What? Why?" Because now I'm thinking we have started our campaigns, it's also like breaking us off in a way. And
they're trying to.
The officer said it's because you're somehow, really
influencing.
Yes,
you're the ringleader.
When I was walking in the detention center, obviously there are cameras, so obviously they're looking at me, seeing you going from room to room, and they're like, "This one, she's the culprit." It was a strategy. So that's how I got to understand the reason. So other ladies were distressed, going, "What's going on?" Because everyone who's been taken and going away, we all get distressed because we don't know where they're taking us. And we were just put at the back of the
So you didn't have a choice?
No, you don't have a choice.
And there's no form of communication.
No, there isn't.
There was no, you didn't have the time to inform anybody, even your lawyer or your family, to say that this is what has happened.
No. So
it was just
I
pack
just
and
said
let's
to
go.
one of my friends there, I said, please call, because we shared a solicitor. I said, could you please, because I didn't have money to phone, you know, we used to be given some credit, like cards with credit money, like £2 to make a phone call. Yeah, a week, and that would be
£2 a week to make a phone call.
Yes. And you know, if that's what would afford. So I said to my friend, could you please inform the solicitor that this is what happened. So whenever I get to where I am, hopefully I'll be given the chance to make a phone call. That's when I left Yaleswood, you know. And yeah, it was the longest journey I've had, which was almost 9 hours drive from England to Scotland. In the back of a van, you know, like a police van. It's not a police, but it's very uncomfortable. And we had a couple of breaks in the in between. And then I kept asking, where are we going? Such a long journey. They didn't tell us we were going to Scotland. So obviously,
it's only when you got
signs
there.
and I'm thinking, I'm there. That's when we got to Dungarville, another detention.
In Scotland.
And that detention really was for it was mixed with male.
Oh my goodness.
So it was a very different environment, very intimidating. So I remember when we got there evening time, we got into the dining hall with other male, you know, and like, you know, it was just a bit intimidating. I'm thinking, you know, I've left a place where I was
I'd created some friends, some relationships,
and the things that we were planning, and now I'm in a very different environment. So I got distressed about it. Yeah, then I just got there. The only thing I could manage to do was then to call my solicitor, because that's the only important person you know I could contact. Yeah, and that's what happened.
Was there any kind of support? Sorry to interject, but whether you were at Yaleswood or the one in Scotland, was there any support? I know you were there. You had created relationships you had met some sisters, and you know. But in terms of your health or mentally, because this is quite distressful, and like you rightfully said, that you were quite distressed and it's affecting you. Was there any form of support?
I could not really like a holistic support. So there would just be an advisor who's just been advising you for like next steps of things, really, but not intensive support of actually finding out how you are. You know, someone to bounce back in terms of my feelings. Apart from other detainees, I guess we were just praying together, giving each other solidarity. That's the only, I think, support that helped.
Yeah.
So when we got there, I then managed to link up with the ladies from who were in Yaleswood to say this, to let them know that we are in this place.
This is where we are,
so that they let others know. And that's how we continued. We just continued our hunger strike.
And how long were you there at the other place?
At the other place, I stayed there for 2 weeks, and the 2 weeks. So with the 2 weeks, I continued, you know, campaigning, of, you know, not eating, and I was just released. So the immigration officer just came. I was sitting in a dining room, and that time I remember very well, there was the general elections here, and obviously, you know, the politics of immigration has always been
the top whenever there's
political card to play for our politicians. So again, we were anxious to say if this party comes in and what they're saying, what's going to happen to us. So I remember sitting in the dining hall, in the lounge actually, and the immigration officer came with a straight, angry face, and he said, "Yeukai, here is your release. You'll be released to you tomorrow. I can't take, actually it's late now, you could have gone today, but because it's late and the journey is very long, you have your train tickets and your release date." And then I said, whoa, you know, I couldn't believe it. So that's how I got released from detention.
But there was no explanation?
There was no explanation.
And then the train tickets, where were they going?
They're going to London.
And then from London, you see yourself, you
go to
wherever you want to go.
Address,
to your address. Okay.
To London, yes.
Okay. And then did they give you any money?
No, they didn't give me any money. They only gave me train ticket.
Wow. Considering the fact that you went there, they took your mobile phone, so you got no means of communication except for the phone booth. The phone booth, you have to have a card, and that card only has £2 a week. So you try, when you call out, It's either people have to call
They
you
have to
back
call me back, yes.
so that you can save the
So
credit.
yes, that's right. And also at the time there were no smartphones, because anyway they were anxious, they were worried about any information going out. Like I say, they had to separate me from others because they're always suspicious and worried about who's snooping out or what information
is being given out.
So with our campaign, we engaged with the media outside about hunger strike. So I don't know if you were attentive enough those days watching the media.
I'm sorry.
Our hunger strike campaign I know was all over. So we had to engage with the local supporters outside, press, to talk about the campaign, and that's how we got released because the pressure was too much. And the hunger strike, remember, if you don't eat or if someone dies under your care without eating, I think that was obviously worried for the security officers.
Of course, yeah, and for the government
because they would come and say, "Can you go and eat?" And I said, "I'm not eating." They would not really. They couldn't force me.
No.
But again, if anything happens because I didn't eat, it's again a negative.
Yeah, on them.
So it was. So we were.
You were trying to have your voices to be heard,
exactly.
And clearly your voices were being heard because of the fact that now the government was now saying,
and then
do something about it.
Yes,
and
we were working as a community in there, and a lot of us, we really wanted change as Zimbabweans. Where we felt that they should hold all deportations to Zimbabwe because of what was going on. But unfortunately, within that, within the group, there were others who betrayed us. Because there was an incident where I told you about me going to Scotland.
Yeah.
Somebody actually went to let the officers know that was the plan.
What do you mean?
Somebody, snitched basically.
And said that
went to one of our members. Went to one of these officers to let them know that these people are planning A, B, C. So that was unfortunate, and it came to our attention, and that is when I realized, you know what, you are not alone in these things. You trust, but
don't trust too much. Yeah, there's some people who've got a hidden agenda.
Yes, but they were in similar circumstance. Apparently,
maybe they were thinking that if I do that, it will be favor on them, and that maybe they will be released. That maybe
but then that would have been stupid of them because the system doesn't work like that. Because those officers are not the decision makers. Remember?
True. I don't think they knew that. So overall, you said you went into the detention center 4 times.
3 times.
3 times.
Yes.
So this time you were released, and then you were taken again in a different incident.
Yes.
And how long did you stay again?
I stayed there for 2 weeks. It was
2 weeks, and then they released you.
Then they released me.
And then the third time?
The third time was the very first time I sought asylum.
Ah, right.
Yes.
Wow.
So that was that was my journey. And when I came out of detention, now I knew how hostile the system is.
Yeah.
And I thought I will not sit down until we seek justice. And with my colleagues, friends, we started campaigning, we putting pressure, and that's when through our efforts, if you remember back then, again I don't know, that's when the Justice Collins, who was the Chief Justice of the UK, made the ruling that there should never be deportations to Zimbabwe until further notice.
Yes, I remember that.
That was what made that ruling.
Really? So you were the force behind it all?
Yes, a lot of people who were behind it.
Because that ruling has recently been changed.
It's always been It's always been so many cases upon, but that was the very first.
That no more Zimbabweans will not be deported.
That was our first to say you should recognize that.
Wow. And how did that make you feel?
Relieved, but we knew there was a long battle ahead.
But this was the first
step. That was, at least we felt, actually we can make a change.
We can make a change. Yeah. And you've been making a change in so many ways. Because from all this, you then started Active Horizons.
Yes.
And I think we're going to have to do a part 2 and you tell us a little bit more about Active Horizons. Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been really great having Yeukai here with us on the show today, because her journey and her experience of the time when she came into the UK in 2001 and only 18 years old, and the next thing she found herself in a detention center not knowing and understanding what it means, where her life is going to end up. Today, she shares it with a smile on her face. That is amazing. I mean, you have stood in so many places now and you're so comfortable to talk about it, because before you were not. Before, during that time in Zimbabwe, I know you said you were, but then I think a lot of people around you were not as comfortable to talk about seeking asylum. But you probably empowered them and made them stronger in doing that.
And I think it needs to be talked about. It's okay. We all come from different places. It's okay to share our journeys, to empower and help others, and as a community, to build ourselves.
What do you think is missing, you know, from the community? Because you mentioned community. What do you think is missing from the community in terms of sharing and empowering people? What is it that, or what else can be done?
I think it's, I think as a community, we lack a unity of purpose.
Okay.
Yeah, we are so fragmented in different ways. Yes, we are different, you know, as human beings.
Yeah.
But we share a journey.
Okay.
And I think we need to have a unit of purpose and to talk about these things in an amicable way.
Okay,
and
definitely.
Find healing through that.
I think that's a very important, like you said, find healing, because some people don't talk about it or haven't healed from it, and not healing from it. We all know that if you don't heal from something, your actions and your impact in other things, you know, will be affected.
That's right.
You know, so it's very important to heal first and to be comfortable to talk about things in your own skin and to share it. You know, because right now what you have said, a lot of people don't know about it or are not comfortable to talk about it. And they want to look at it as a negative thing, as a past, and they want to shut that door completely, you know, and not talk about it.
Yeah, it's the system that makes us feel that when we need to challenge that perception, right? We need to talk about who we are. And it goes back to our identity, isn't it?
It does. It goes back to our identity.
Talk about it. And it's all right to talk about these things. You know, yes, it was a very bad experience, but let's come out of it so that our next generations, our children's future, is in the right place.
So a lot of mental health issues are probably, you know, going on with regards to that, isn't it?
Yes.
And people need do need healing, because if they don't get that healing, then they will not be able to progress, you know, emotionally.
Exactly.
Yeukai, it's been absolutely great having you on the show.
Thank you, Tandie.
All right, and we are going to have a part 2 where you then tell us about, from all this, from the mess to a message, from lemons and how you made lemonade. I got that from The Vow, actually. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to us today and having Yeukai tell us about her journey of what she's gone through and what she's experienced. It's been absolutely great. So please stay tuned for a part 2.